The average person loses $11,000 a year. Not to bad luck, not to a recession, to themselves. And the scary part? They never see it happen. Meet Sarah. Sarah never thought of herself as bad with money. She wasn't buying designer bags. She wasn't gambling. She wasn't drowning in debt. She was just normal. A coffee before work, delivery after a long day, a few subscriptions she forgot she even had. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that felt like a mistake. 5 years later, she opened her savings account and felt her stomach drop. Almost nothing there. She hadn't made one bad decision. She'd made 10,000 small ones, and none of them had ever felt big enough to notice. That's the trap. It's never the big purchase that wrecks you. It's the invisible one, the kind that never shows up on a receipt marked mistake. So here's what I'm going to give you. 10 tiny habits. So small, you'll barely feel them. And one of them, habit number 7, is the one that saves people the most money, and almost nobody does it. Stay with me. Most people think saving money means suffering. Cancel the trip, sell the car, eat rice and beans for a month. That's why diets fail. That's why budgets fail too. They demand willpower, and willpower runs out by Wednesday. But here's a line worth remembering. The easiest dollar to save is the dollar you never gave your brain permission to spend. That's the whole secret, disguised as 10 small tricks. Wealthy people don't have more discipline than you. They just built a life where bad spending requires effort and good spending requires none. Habit 1. The 24-hour rule. Anything over $50 that isn't a necessity. You wait a day. Not forever, just one day. Why does this work? Because most impulse purchases aren't about need. They're about dopamine. Your brain gets a hit just imagining the purchase. Give it 24 hours and that hit fades on its own. Nearly 70% of delayed purchases simply never happen. You didn't need willpower. You just needed time. Habit 2. Every marketing email you get is a tiny salesperson walking into your living room, uninvited, every single morning. Professionally trained to make you want something you didn't know existed 5 minutes ago. Delete the salesperson. Delete the spending. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because here's the myth we've all been sold. That saving money requires a total lifestyle overhaul. Cut the lattes. Move to a cheaper city. Live like a monk for 5 years so you can finally be free. That advice doesn't fail because it's wrong. It fails because it's emotionally unsustainable. You cannot white-knuckle your way through years of deprivation. Eventually you snap. And when you snap, you don't spend a little. You binge. That's the real reason most savings plans die. Not laziness. Rebellion against restriction. The people who build real wealth aren't the ones who suffer the most. They're the ones who never had to rely on suffering at all. It was never about discipline. It was about design. Habit 3. Pay with cash for anything discretionary. Here's why. Imagine handing over 5 $20 bills, one at a time, watching them leave your hand. Now imagine tapping your phone against a screen. One of those hurts, the other barely registers. Your brain processes physical loss completely differently than digital loss. That's not a theory. People spend up to 20% more when they pay by card because the pain of paying simply never arrives. Habit 4. Audit your subscriptions once a month. Not because you're irresponsible, because companies don't actually sell subscriptions. They sell forgetfulness. Silent recurring revenue built entirely on the bet that you won't remember to cancel. The average person is paying for 3 subscriptions they forgot they even signed up for. Now let's go somewhere deeper, because there's a reason your brain fights you on all of this, every single time. It's called present bias. Your brain wildly overvalues rewards right now and wildly undervalues costs in the future. Spending $20 today feels like nothing. Saving $20 for a future you can't fully picture feels pointless. Here's the strange part. Your brain isn't broken. It's just ancient. It evolved for a world with no bank accounts, no retirement plans, no 30-year horizon. It evolved to grab the fruit in front of you because tomorrow was never guaranteed, but tomorrow is guaranteed now. And that changes everything. These micro habits work precisely because they don't ask your ancient brain to care about some distant future. They shrink the decision down to right now, this transaction, this exact moment. You're not fighting human nature. You're finally working with it. Habit 5. Automate your savings the day you get paid. Not whatever's left at the end of the month, because there's never anything left. Pay yourself first, before the money disappears into 40 decisions you won't even remember making. Habit 6. Write a grocery list and buy only what's on it. Unplanned grocery purchases make up nearly 40% of the average bill. That's not food, that's impulse, wearing a shopping cart as a disguise. Here's habit 7. The one I promised you. Round up every purchase and save the difference. Something costs $11? Round it to $15. That extra $4 goes straight into savings. It sounds microscopic, almost silly. But done consistently, most people save over $1,000 a year without ever feeling like they cut a single thing. Your lifestyle stays exactly the same. Only your bank account changes. It's the closest thing to free money that actually exists. Now, here's where the stakes get real. Two people can start with the same income, the same job, the same life, and end up in completely different financial worlds 10 years later. Not because one of them worked harder, because one of them built these tiny systems and the other one never did. Sarah, 5 years in, was losing roughly $200 a month to invisible leaks. Left invested instead, at a modest return, the $200 a month becomes over $34,000 in a decade. Not spent on anything she'd remember, just gone. Now picture someone identical to Sarah in every way, except they installed these habits early. Same job, same lifestyle, still going out, still enjoying their life. But that same $200 gets redirected automatically, painlessly, invisibly. 10 years later, it's not gone. It's theirs. Compounding. Quietly becoming freedom. Nobody feels rich or poor on any single Tuesday. But zoom out 10 years, and that gap becomes the entire distance between financial stress and financial peace. Habit 8. Ignore urgency. Limited time offer is engineered pressure, built specifically to bypass the rational part of your brain. If it's still worth buying in 3 days, it was never actually urgent. It was just well-timed. Habit 9. Use one single card for everything discretionary and check the total every week, not monthly. Awareness is the cheapest form of control that exists, and most people never look until the bill arrives and the damage is already done. Habit 10. Before any non-essential purchase, ask one question. Will this matter to me in 30 days? Most things fail that test instantly. And the ones that pass? Buy them. Guilt-free. This was never about spending nothing. It's about spending on purpose instead of by accident. Eventually, something strange happens to people who stick with this. They stop trying to save money. They simply become someone who doesn't waste it. That's the real shift. Not a better budget, a different identity. Because wealth is never made or lost in the big dramatic moments. It's made in the boring ones. The $4 you didn't notice. The subscription you forgot to cancel. The 20 seconds you didn't wait before clicking buy. 10 years from now, you won't remember the coffee you didn't buy, but you'll remember the freedom it quietly purchased. Nobody becomes wealthy because of one brilliant decision. They become wealthy because thousands of invisible ones quietly pointed in the same direction for years without anyone watching. Fix 10 tiny leaks, and somewhere down the road, you won't just have more money. You'll have built a version of yourself who never had to think about it at all.